Hello, welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe to my channel, like my videos, and please check out my channel for other updates. So the last update about Twist of Fate. Ranbir's grandmother finds out about Prachi's pregnancy, and Rhea asks Rhea to manipulate Prachi into leaving the house, and Rhea did exactly like that, and Prachi begins to think about Rhea's words. Let's continue. Ranbir is on the bed thinking about the moment when he was about to propose to Prachi, and when Rhea immediately fainted and spoiled the moment. Rhea comes to the room and sees Ranbir sleeping. Ranbir pretends to be sleeping. Rhea gets Rhea's call. Rhea asks, "What did Prachi say?" Rhea says, "I talked to Prachi, and I said all whatever you asked me to say, but..." Ranbir thinks that what did Rhea say to Prachi? Rhea says to Rhea on the phone that you were wrong. Prachi was not like her mother. Rhea asks, "What did she say?" Rhea says, "What will she say?" She says when she breaks, she is tough not to crack. Ranbir yes Rhea. Rhea says to Rhea that I will go out and talk to you. She goes out of the room. Ranbir gets up and thinks that what did she tell Prachi? And why did she say that Prachi is not like her mother and that she cannot break? Ranbir thinks to find out. Prachi recalls Rhea's words and gets emotional. Shahana asks Prachi if she is fine. She asks her not to get confused and let the things be the same as it is. Prachi says I should have told everyone about my pregnancy. Else I would have been on Rhea's place and I would have told her what she told me today. Prachi says to Shahana that everyone is happy and says if I had told them, then I would have been the reason for their happiness. She blames herself for keeping her baby away from his family and from their love. She says I used the baby to take revenge on Ranbir. Prachi says to Shahana that I sat on the weighing scale, but it was too for my selfishness. Shahana says your family would always be connected with this family and the baby will get all their love. She says first, the baby will get your love. First, let him call you mother. Shahana asks Prachi not to make her baby feel sad and says the baby will get whatever she deserves. She says you have fought for yourself until now, but now you have to fight for your baby. Rhea calls Rhea and says she came out of the room so that nobody will hear her. Ranbir follows Rhea and thinks that Rhea is hiding something and he gets the feelings that it is related to Prachi. Rhea asks Rhea not to come to her room and meet her on the terrace. Rhea turns towards Ranbir. Ranbir eyes and thinks to find out what is in Rhea's mind. Pallavi tells Rhea that she wants to take her to Grandma's room to do the ritual. Rhea says she will come after some time. Pallavi insists. Rhea goes with Pallavi. Ranbir goes to Vikram's room. He asks if anything happened. Vikram says what is the use to tell you when your loved ones doesn't understand you. Ranbir says to Vikram that if you love me, then your feelings will come to me. Vikram hugs him. Ranbir cries. Vikram says I know what you are going through and says if you want to share something, then you can share it with me. Ranbir tells Vikram that he did a big mistake. He says he had a fight with Prachi and it got very upset and drank wine. He says Rhea came to me, though I did not call her, and Rhea got closer to me, and I saw Prachi in Rhea, and I got closer to her, and we got intimate. Ranbir says to Vikram that I don't love Rhea, but I love Prachi and I'm loyal to her. Vikram says I understand. It happens with many people. Sometimes we do some things which we don't want to do and we regret all our life. He says we have to pay the price for it and says you are paying the price for your doings and you will be guilt-free and you will make everything fine. He asks, do you understand what I'm saying? Pallavi comes to Grandma's room with Rhea. She says when I got pregnant, you used to take off the bad side from me daily. Grandma says you don't used to believe it. Pallavi says I do agree now, as you taught me. She says I believe on everything now. And she asks Grandma to take off bad sides from Rhea so that both mother and baby can stay safe. Ranbir peeps into the room and sees how Grandma do the rituals for Rhea and takes off bad side from Rhea. Pallavi thanks Grandma. Grandma says I did this for my family and she asks Rhea to go to her room. She tries to talk to Pallavi, but Pallavi goes. Shahana tells Prachi that she knew that many things are happening in her life and says this storm will soon go. Prachi says I don't think that this will be resolved. Shahana asks what did Rhea say? Prachi says Rhea was talking about her baby. She says she was immature and she would always be. Prachi says maybe becoming a mother will bring change in Rhea. She says Rhea was talking about love and care about her baby and I felt that she is a mother. Shahana asks Prachi not to come in her talks and says whatever Rhea said to you was for her benefit. Ranbir comes there and hears Shahana talking to Prachi. Ranbir asks Prachi if Rhea talked to her. Prachi asks Ranbir to go. Ranbir asks Shahana to ask Prachi to give him some time so that he can make everything fine. Prachi says to Ranbir that now nothing can be done. Ranbir says, I need a last chance. Shahana says she had given you a chance, then she herself cried. Ranbir says, let me talk to her. Prachi says everything is over now. Ranbir asks, really? And asks if there is nothing between us. Prachi says to Ranbir that you don't know what is first love, first wife and first child. Ranbir says I would understand and asks her to say it. Prachi says you don't understand and that is why I have to talk like this. Prachi says she will take back her right from Ranbir and from this family. Ranbir asks Prachi to show her right and snatch it. He thinks that Prachi should tell everyone that she is pregnant. Prachi says if I have right on something, then why do I have to demand for it? She says I have to struggle to be happy. Why do I have to fight daily to live? Ranbir bends down on his knees and says to Prachi that please, don't do anything. I will do whatever you say. Prachi says I will not leave the house. I will get whatever I want. Rhea hears them. Ranbir says, did I ask you to go? And says, I want you to stay here in your room. Prachi says she couldn't bear Ranbir now. Ranbir asks Shahana to ask Prachi to come to her room. He comes out and sees Rhea. Rhea goes from there. Shahana goes behind Prachi. Rhea thinks of Prachi and Ranbir's conversation. Aliyah sees Rhea and says, I thought you would meet me on the terrace. Rhea says, I shouldn't have heard you and says, your idea has failed. She says, my respect is ruined and you made me a loser in front of Prachi. Aliyah asks Rhea to come to the point. Pallavi comes there and says to Rhea that just now, your bad sight is gone. You must rest and you shall not roam here and there. Aliyah says, I was telling her to rest. Pallavi asks her to rest and take her from there. Shahana asks Prachi to calm down and says Ranbir has gone and she asks her to take long breathing. Prachi says, I just want peace, but when I see Ranbir, I get angry. Shahana asks Prachi to calm down and says you get hyper and you don't understand Ranbir and he cannot make you understand. Prachi asks Shahana that what could Ranbir not make me understand? How Rhea got his baby in her stomach or how he got intimate with Rhea. She says Ranbir told me that he will prove his innocence, but he couldn't prove it. She says he said that he drank some drink, but he did not do anything in inebriated state. Prachi says to Shahana that you are taking Ranbir's side and she asks if you can prove his innocence and she asks her to say if she is wrong. Shahana says I got emotional and I took Ranbir's side. Prachi cries. Shahana asks Prachi not to cry. Prachi says she misses her mother and says she wants to rush to her now and says her mother solves any problem and says all my problem get resolved when I rest on her lap. Shahana asks Prachi to rest her head on her lap. Prachi rests her head on Shahana's lap and misses Pragya. Prachi gets up and cries again. Ranbir couldn't sleep thinking about Prachi's words. He thinks I should tell Prachi that I know that she is pregnant. He thinks if I tell her, then she will feel that I am playing with her emotions and I impregnated Rhea to lower her. Ranbir says I wish I could tell Prachi that I want to fulfill my dreams with just her. He asks himself why did he connect Siddharth's name with Prachi's name. He asks why did you doubt Prachi and raise fingers on her character. He scolded himself and says I thought that I would give Prachi on our anniversary, but I gave Rhea's pregnancy as gift. He thinks that Prachi is pregnant and she needs my love and support and I will give her everything. Ranbir is going and he finds Prachi making sandwich in the kitchen. Prachi's finger gets caught. Ranbir gets concerned and hold her finger and suck it. He says now the blood has stopped. He asks her to sit. Prachi says I don't want to sit. Ranbir says if you don't eat, then it is neither good for you nor for your. Prachi is shocked. Ranbir says to Prachi that it is not good for you and for your brain to stress yourself. He says I will make sandwich and he asks her to eat. He says if we stay hungry, then it hurt ourselves. He says he will make it in 2 minutes. He makes the sandwich. Prachi sits on the chair in the kitchen. Ranbir serves Prachi the sandwich and he tries to make her eat with his hand. Prachi says she will eat with her hand, but Ranbir insists to make Prachi eat with his hand due to her finger injury and the masala in the sandwich. Prachi eats. Ranbir says I need to be with you. Prachi recalls Ranbir making sandwich for her in their rented house. She gets emotional and she goes from there. Ranbir eats the leftover sandwich. Prachi asks herself what does she want. She says one side you don't want to see Ranbir's face and the other side you get lost seeing him. She says you give him chance always and he takes advantage of you. She says you will not be foolish and says Ranbir is behaving as if everything is fine. Prachi says to herself that you know how that guy is. She recalls Ranbir surrounded by the girls in the college. She says Ranbir connected my name with Siddharth's name. Then also she forgave him, thinking to resolve the misunderstanding. But Ranbir gave her right to someone else. Prachi says to herself that I trusted Ranbir again and I saw him with Rhea. She says relationship has ended, but not my love. She says I was believing my heart and I thought that whatever I saw was wrong and Ranbir was just lying with Rhea. She says when the pregnancy news of Rhea came, there is no chance of any doubt. She says everything is over. Prachi says to herself that when Ranbir was making me eat sandwich, I felt as if he made our child have it. Why do you do this? She cries, resting on the floor. Ranbir thinks that he couldn't do or say whatever he wanted to. He says he is feeling suffocated. He says Prachi and I are going to be mom and dad, and I did not hug and congratulate her. He congratulates himself for becoming dad of Prachi's baby. Ranbir says Prachi did not know that I know about her pregnancy. I need to protect my baby in any circumstances. He takes the red chilies and thinks to save his child and the baby's mother from all the bad sight. Pallavi makes Rhea rest on the bed. She says I was thinking how the baby would be. Then I thought the baby must be beautiful. She says I am so excited. Rhea thinks that Pallavi talks too much and she should at least save some talks for tomorrow, and she thinks that Pallavi is so irritating and she needs to talk to Aliyah. Pallavi says she was thinking about the baby's name and says she will get Ranbir's toys clean. Rhea messaged Aliyah on the phone. Pallavi says she will take care of Rhea till her delivery. Rhea pretends to sleep so that Pallavi can leave her alone. Pallavi says I will go since you are sleeping, and she leaves. Rhea thinks to go and meet Aliyah. Ranbir comes to Prachi's room and takes off birthside from her, the way Grandma took off birthside from Rhea during the rituals. A song plays in the background. Ranbir prays to God to keep Prachi and their baby safe. He goes from there. Prachi wakes up hearing the door closing sound. Ranbir comes out and sees Rhea talking to Aliyah that she is just coming. Rhea goes to Aliyah's room. Aliyah says you would have told Pallavi that you want to meet me. Rhea says she was so irritated and Pallavi was talking continuously. Aliyah says this is because Pallavi is excited. Rhea says we should go to the storage room and talk, else yes, someone might hear us. Ranbir tries to hear them but he couldn't hear. Aliyah asks Rhea what did Prachi say. Rhea says I requested Prachi. I cried and I pleaded in front of her, but Prachi behaved as if she is not hearing. Rhea says Prachi did not give me any signal that she would leave the house. She says I bent down in front of her, but she was silent. Aliyah says Prachi was shocked to see you pleading and says she will not be able to sleep tonight and your words would have effect on her. Ranbir is trying to listen to their conversation and he thinks that what are they talking about. Rhea says I asked Prachi to think as a mother and not as a second wife, but Prachi did not still react. Aliyah assures Rhea that Prachi will leave the house in the morning because people like Prachi are fools and they can easily be blackmailed emotionally. Rhea is happy and she hugs Aliyah. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video, share it, and please subscribe to this channel for more updates. Thank you.